Um, Hi, I am Lucy Ferraz, and today I will present a study entitled Curriculum Implementation for Uncertain Futures: Contributions of Web Curriculum to the Development of the 21st Century Literacies. Um, let's talk about the research context. We are currently living in a period of profound technological, social, and educational transformation. The rapid expansion of artificial intelligence, the increasing circulation of information through digital environments, and the growing complexity of contemporary challenges have led educational systems around the world to redesign their curricula in order to incorporate digital competencies and 21st century literacies, um, such as critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, problem solving, and responsible participation. However, international experience has consistently shown that simply including these competencies in curriculum documents does not guarantee that students will actually develop them. Curriculum expresses educational intentions, but meaningful learning depends on how teachers interpret, adapt, and translate those intentions into classroom practice through their pedagogical mediation. So this study starts from the assumption that curriculum implementation is not merely the execution of educational policy. It is a dynamic process of interpretation, adaptation, and pedagogical decision-making in which teachers transform curriculum proposals in authentic learning experiences. About the conceptual framework and research question, this perspective is informed by Cynthia Coburn's work on teachers' appropriation of educational policies, and by Michael Fullan's understanding that sustainable educational change emerges from the interaction between curriculum, professional learning, and collaborative school practice. As our pedagogical framework, we adopted the principles of the web curriculum proposed by Professor Maria Elizabeth Biancosini de Almeida. And from this perspective, digital technologies are not simply instructional tools. They become integral elements of the curriculum, fostering authorship, collaboration, contextualization, critical reflection, knowledge sharing, and students' active participation. This perspective also converges with competence-based learning and Paulo Freire's dialogical education, both of which emphasize inquiry, dialogue, reflexive dialogue, problem solving, and the collaborative construction of knowledge. Against this background, our study addressed the following research question. How do curriculum practice in classroom process enable teachers to transform curriculum proposals into meaningful learning experience that effectively develop the competencies students need to thrive in uncertain futures? So let's talk about the methodology and the STEM expansions project. Um, to address our research question, we conducted a qualitative documentary case study aiming to understanding how teachers appropriate curriculum proposals and transform them into meaningful learning experience. This investigation represents an empirical case within a broader research agenda on curriculum practices in classroom in authentic educational context. We selected the STEAM expansions project implemented in the São Paulo municipal school system because it provided a rich opportunity to examine how teachers interpret, adapt, and enact curriculum principles through their pedagogical practice. The project developed by this specific project developed by Texto Educational Consulting near the São Paulo Municipal School System supported teachers from different subject areas in designing a choir-based learning experience mediated by digital technology and allied with the São Paulo City Curriculum for Technologies for Learning. The project encouraged contextualized interdisciplinary learning, student authorship, collaboration, critical thinking, and authentic problem solving, as well as the use of technology integrated with all these elements. An important characteristic of the project was its professional development model. Um, the teacher's development model, which combined conceptual foundations, collaborative planning, immediate classroom experimentation, which was uh, very, very important, and continuous pedagogical support, also very important. This allowed us to investigate not only students' final products, but more importantly, the pedagogical decisions teachers made through the curriculum practice in classroom. Our study examined three case studies involving three grade ninth teachers from the same public school, each teaching a different subject. Although they developed different learning activities, all worked within the same pedagogical framework provided by the STEM Expansions Project. The primary source of evidence consisted of the teacher's final implementation reports, which documented lesson planning, instructional adaptations, pedagogical mediation strategies, evidence of student learning, and teachers' reflections on the implementation process. To deepen our understanding, we also analyzed the teachers' representations at the project's closing event and conducted semi-structured interviews, allowing us to explore aspects of curriculum practice in classroom that were not always explicit in the written reports. Um, the analysis was guided by indicators derived from the principles of web curriculum, including authorship, collaboration, contextualization, critical reflection, knowledge sharing, and students' active participation, which enables to compare the three cases and identify how different forms of pedagogical mediation influenced the quality of the learning experience. Here is important to say that web curriculum is one of the pedagogical concepts considered during um, the development of São Paulo City curriculum for technologies for learning. Okay. And so it was everything aligned to the to São Paulo City curriculum for technology for learning. Finally, this investigation also resulted in the development of an instrument called Visible Learning Experience Design Matrix, or VLED matrix, in Portuguese would be the AV matrix, conceived as an analytical framework to support future studies on curriculum implementation across different educational contexts. About the results, although the three teachers worked in the same school, participated in the same professional development program, and implemented the same STEM curriculum proposal, they created remarkably different learning experiences. This leads to the first major finding of our research. The curriculum proposal alone does not determine the quality of learning experiences. Despite sharing the same curriculum, same pedagogical project, and similar technological resources, the three teachers achieved different levels of student engagement, participation, authorship, collaboration, and competency development. These differences suggest that curriculum implementation depends not only on what is prescribed, but also on how teachers interpret and enact curriculum in their own classrooms. Um, this naturally raises an important questions, which is what actually explain these differences. Our analysis indicates that the decisive factor was pedagogical mediation. Technology was available in all three cases, but it was not the determining element. Educational technologies acquired meaning only through the pedagogical decisions teachers made while implementing the curriculum, while they are developing their practice in classroom. The strongest learning experience were characterized by inquire, authentic problem solving, dialogue, contextualization, collaboration, student authorship, and continuous reflection, teachers' reflection, students' reflections, but teachers' reflections, precisely the principles that define the web curriculum. In other words, technology does not transform learning by itself. Pedagogical mediation does. These findings reinforces the idea that meaningful curriculum implementation depends on teachers' capacity to transform curriculum intentions into authentic learning experiences. Um, Beyond these findings, one of the original contributions of this study is the development of that instrument, the Visible Learning Experience Design Matrix, or VLED matrix, in Portuguese called DIAV matrix. The matrix was designed to support the process of planning, monitoring, and reflection of the details of learning experience. Its main contribution is making visible many of the details from the pedagogical decisions that usually remain implicit during curriculum implementation. By connecting curriculum, context, pedagogical mediation, student participation, assessment, and evidence of learning, as well as the types of technologies they are going to adopt during all this process. The matrix provides teachers with a practical framework for designing more coherent and meaningful learning experiences. Ultimately, the VLAD matrix or the AV matrix translates the principles of the web curriculum into an operational framework that supports both educational practice and future research on curriculum practice in classroom or curriculum implementation. Um, about the conclusions, well, I would like to conclude by returning to the central question that guided this study. How can we prepare students for futures characterized by uncertainty? Our findings suggest that the answer does not lie simply in introducing new digital technologies into school. It depends on teachers' ability to transform curriculum proposals into meaningful learning experience through intentional pedagogical mediation. From this perspective, curriculum implementation or curriculum practice in classroom should not be understood as the final stage of educational policy, but as the process through which curriculum becomes learning. These findings also reinforce the importance of sustained teacher professional development that combines conceptual foundations, collaborative planning, classroom experimentation, and continuous pedagogical reflection on about this classroom experimentation and all the concepts. Okay, and ultimately, one conclusion became increasingly evident through this investigation. Curriculum does not transform education when they are published. They transform education when teachers appropriate them and through their pedagogical mediation convert them into meaningful learning experience. If we truly want to prepare students for uncertain futures, we should invest not only in educational technologies, but also in curriculum implementation process that empower teachers to become the protagonists of educational transformation. Thank you very, very much for your time and your interest.